everybody, and welcome to another Houdini tutorial. Today we'll be learning about nebulas and how to create them in Houdini. This is going to build off of my first lesson about cloudscapes and clouds, because we're once again working with VDBs, volumes, and this time we're going to be adding a few geometry lights and volume lights into our scene and going over and discussing what type of nebulas exist in the world. So once again, I have a page on my website that will link below that has some further resources that you can check out nebulas around the internet, and it's really fun. There's actually a bunch of different types of nebulas. There's galaxy globular clusters, open clusters, emission nebulas, reflection nebulas, dark nebulas, planetary nebulas, and supernova remnants. So there's several different types of nebulas that we can build, and as you can see, I'm on NASA and I'm looking at nebulas. And nebulas are anything that contain gas and dust and produce stars, and that's why galaxies are classified as nebulas. We're very special and unique in the way that we exist inside a nebula, we exist inside a galaxy, and galaxies contain most of the time a supermassive black hole at their center that makes the stars and dust gather around it while it slowly gets sucked into this void, and it's very, very interesting to me. So we're going to go through NASA's gallery and decide what we're going to build in Houdini. So as you can see, we already have some classic colors that we can work with. This right here will be a supernova remnant. Let me click on it just to see if it is. But as you can see, that it's clearly from a large explosion. I guess in some ways it could maybe also be classified as a planetary nebula. A planetary nebula is what our sun, is going to end up in our solar system at the end of its life cycle, which is very interesting to note. These stars over here are globular clusters. So once again, it's because they're a massive group of stars held together by gas and dust. They are considered nebulas. And so let's pick something fun that we can use. Let's start with a galaxy, because those are fun and they contain a lot of stars and it's going to be hard to build them. So that's beautiful. Let's build it. As you can see, we're going to take these blue and yellow light sources, and we're going to create them using geometry lights and Houdini. And then I'm going to build a basic particle system for the big giant volumetric clouds of this nebula, and maybe go and add some volume VOPs so we can just get those little details of color. Yeah, so let's get started. So as you can see, I was already testing some ideas and throwing them around, so let's create another geometry tab. For nebulas and anything with clouds, please save very frequently, because you don't want to lose everything. So I'm going to go galaxy, and just for the hell of it, I'm going to also create a geometry light. In this case, when you create a geometry light, and if you have any other geo nodes selected in your scene when you create a geometry light, it will automatically grab that geometry from inside that node. So just be very careful that if that happens, you have to specify the null or the outsource of the correct geometry inside that node. So in this case, I'm just going to delete my galaxy for now, because we're going to specify later of what we're putting into the geometry object and the material output. So I'm going to start with a basic sphere, a sphere of fear, polygon, and I'm going to add a pop net. For this particle system, it's going to be fairly simple. I'm also going to add a trail node, as we'll need that later. And an add node. And I'll explain what I'll do later with those. But I'm not going to activate them yet, I'm just going to stay on the pop network. So there's only really two nodes that we need, and that's the pop axis force. And I'm probably going to just scale those up to 3 to be safe. And the only thing we really need is a suction speed and maybe a very, very, very light orbit speed. And we'll see what's happening. No. Awesome. So already you can see that it's creating that galaxy-esque shape that we very much need, but we don't have those big giant arms of those the galaxy that we saw. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to speed it up a bit, and then we'll add another node. That's good, I think. Let's go back to our reference. And I'm now deciding how many particles I need, because this is going to be a bit tricky. And as you can see, that some light source in some cases is visible inside the galaxy, but we also have some stars that are quite distant as a light source, but they're not. There isn't too many stars, so in some cases we might actually have to build a second geometry light, one for our visible stars and one for our hidden stars or center of the galaxy right there. So we only see the lights, and then in other places we'll see the actual geometry of the stars. But we'll get there when we get there. So now that we have that, I think I might dial that down from 5,000 to 2,000. I had a problem earlier where I had too many stars and my poor little computer couldn't handle it. And I'm going to go pop steer align. And this is going to get our little arms of our galaxy to cluster around each other. And we'll see what happens. There we go. Look at all that. Now, already that's maybe a bit too much. That looks less like a galaxy and more like a star just exploded. In some cases, I think that's maybe what you need. So let's dial down the force. Maybe add a little bit more orbit speed. And just wait. Let's see how this is moving. Pretty cool. I like it. But it's still not what we want. Okay. I'm going to try something interesting. I'm going to play with the... I don't need you. Go away. No. My channel list is unfortunately... Thank you. So I'm going to play with something. I'm going to have some fall off happening and a soft outer edge. And I'm also going to add some air resistance to my scene and see what happens. Nothing apparently. But we'll let that cook out. So here we go. I found the problem. I had to add a little bit of air resistance to our galaxy. And as you can see, it's forming these beautiful, beautiful waves. I'm sorry about that. I've just been working in Fusion at work, and it's a bit of a pain to go between hotkeys. I think I might re-add a bit more particles back in, so maybe 3,500. I think we want bigger arms on our galaxy, so that might be the best case scenario. So while that's cooking out, let's go back over to NASA and learn a little bit more about our lovely galaxies. Galaxies, all life in the universe. There's something called the Nebula Theory, where it's thought, and it's probably correct, where every single bit of life in the universe came from a nebula, a cloud of dust and debris and particles and all that good stuff. And it was all clouded together, gravity pulled it all in, and it formed the stars, which then formed other chemical reactions in the universe, which formed planets, which formed us. So nebulas not only are important and cool to make in visual effects, but they are the building blocks of life. And they're very, very, very more important than we think. Look at this one. That's beautiful. Hubble is just a joy. If you've never been to Kennedy Space Center, I highly recommend it. They have a life-size Hubble replica in there, and it's worth looking at. So now this is finished cooking. I like that. That's actually very beautiful. So now let's delete the node that we don't need. And let's jump out. And in between my trail and my add, I'm actually going to add a time blend because I want to kind of freeze where I want my particle system to be. And in this case, I want it to be at 177. I'm just going to put it there. And it should be at 177. Now that it's finished rendering out, let's add our trail. We're going to go over here to our trail, and we're probably going to add a trail length of not too much. But I want the arms to be thick enough. And then we'll add our time blend, and we'll let that cook. So part of why I'm looking at NASA for inspiration, and oh, look at this. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Planetary nebula. That's a great example of it. As visual effects artists, we're not just fun artists who go into the studio and blow stuff up. We're also scientists. It's our job to understand life itself, because animation is the illusion of life. Visual effects were, I guess, the illusion of science, if you want to put it that way. So it's quite important to understand what you're building. And clouds are the perfect way to go about that. So now we got something kind of trippy. I'm looking at this now and I'm like, maybe I could have used an else system, but you know, I always do the things the hard way. So we'll do it the hard way. Okay, back again. Sorry, I had to take a quick break. I got called away. So we're going to add an add node. I took away the previous one because out of a sheer mistake, I thought I did something weird, but I didn't. So I'm going to go by group, by attribute, attribute name, ID. And therefore, it will create these lovely lines. And that's pretty great. Really nice. I like it. I'm going to go a resample node. UV texture. Now we have our UV attribute. So if we go to the geometry spreadsheet, it should be there. Now we're going to do some fun stuff, which I call lovely VOPs. So you may be asking, why did I create the UV attribute? Well, if you look in here, we have some lovely color formations that are happening where it goes from yellow to blue, or in this case, in this one, it goes yellow, blue, orange, kind of pinky red. So what we're going to try and do is, based on the UV attribute, base the color off of that, which is a lovely way to go. Best case scenario, we create something like this. Worst case scenario, we have a big mess of stars. So let's work on this. So in this case, I'm going to add an attribute VOP. And I'm just going to go color. And WB for white black. It's just kind of how I'll remember it. And we want to go a fit range on the UV, so value, and plug that into the color. And then we're going to go parameter, source, hold on, yes, I was correct, source min, and another parameter, on the source max node. And I'm just going to relabel these max, min, and the next thing I'm going to do is a bind export. Put that to there. And I know I'm missing something. All right, found it. Vector to float. Put that in there. Yep, that's the correct one. So floats, floats. And I'm gonna put this one. Lovely, thank you. All right. So I'm actually going to, now that our file is saved, I'm going to go and save as. So already we got something going on. Cool, but not exactly what we want. And it all has to do with our bind export, which is our P scale, which we haven't put it in yet. We already got some color change, which is nice, but it's not exactly what I want. I'm actually gonna go in and add a mountain node to this. Just so we have some kooky line of variation. I might actually go in as well and then change the trail length to something longer. Cool. Kind of like that. That's what the normal does if you don't have it plugged into the UV. Always kind of experiment with your attributes even if you create. Yes, that was the issue. Always look at your UV attribute and see what you're doing to it. So, now that we have that created, we have some beautiful kind of attributes getting put on there. And now I'm going to save it because this is a little bit of a tricky bit to do. I like using ISO offset, but you can also use volume rasterize. That could get very unpredictable, but from my computer, ISO offset is better. But also cloud nodes can work as well. So in this case, I wouldn't really recommend ISO offset. So we'll go through the other options as well, just so you can see how you can build your own individual cloud. So already we would need to crank out that. Cloud is not going to work for us in this case, so I guess volume rasterize is going to be our best bet. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, after that lovely Houdini crashing moment, is we're going to add another add node right after this. And what we're going to do is we're going to delete all the geometry but the points, which is going to be good in this case. So when we finally add our volume rasterize, it will sense the points and we'll get a good idea of what it needs. So in this case, we're going to do a little bit of Vex code. So it's not going to be bad. We're going to just go do an attribute wrangle. We'll just go rename it density. And all this is going to say is that our density equals density. So it's going to have a constant value of 1. There we go. Not too bad. Now, for the fun bit, and this is going to be our actual color, and that's going to be visualized on our beautiful, beautiful galaxy. So what we're going to do is add another attribute op, and sort of do the same thing that we did up here, except for a full rainbow of colors. So we're going to go galaxy, and we're going to save that, and we're going to go in there, and then dive inside. So what are we going to do? We're going to create another fit range, and this is probably one of the best tools that you can use while you're creating your galaxy. And we're also going to create a ramp. I love the ramp parameter and the fit parameter. They are just so useful inside of Houdini. And we're going to connect the ramp into our color. Cool. And we're going to promote parameters. So all I'm doing is middle mouse clicking to find the promote parameter. So that's good. And let's dive out. We'll go down here and suddenly we have a ramp. And what do we need? We need a reference, like usual. So we're going to go from blue to maybe a pinkish orangey yellow. So let's do that. So let's go, what was our blue like? Very soft, almost Guardians of the Galaxy blue. And we're going to do a soft pinky orange yellow. And as you can see, something's wrong. What is wrong? Oh dear, what are we going to do? Ah, there we go. So my problem is that I clicked it into age and I didn't click it into the UV, and that was my fault. So be aware of what you're connecting your fit range to. I forgot about that, apparently. So now we can get into the fun bit of our volume rasterize particles. And now, no, we want volume rasterize attribute. And I'm going to save before I tell it what attributes I want it to look at. In this case, I do want the color and I want the density. So while it's just cooking the color, we'll see what result we get. And based on the density, we'll add that in later too. Let that cook out. Cool. That looks interesting. It's actually, the voxel size already I do enjoy. But it's kind of flat. I don't want it to be flat. So let's just increase the particle scale and see what happens. And just experiment a bit. So hey there, I decided to step away and take a break because Houdini and just defrag my computer because Houdini was crashing so much. Hopefully it doesn't crash anymore. But in the meantime, I created some nulls so I can have my stars exported out. I'm going to go back in and create another star system for the inside of our galaxy so we can have that little round space. I think what I'm going to do is give this a little bit of a break for my volume rasterize, as I'm having a little bit of problems with it. But I'm going to come back in here because I just realized that I'm not quite too happy with the color. I want to add some more peach color tones and I want to add some darker blues because I think the end result will be much better if we get those colors. So I'm going to dive inside my color attributes. Maybe on the skin tone like that. And maybe a darker blue. Almost like a midnight blue. Maybe that would work. And what we're going to do now is copy this, put it over here with our stars, because it's the same principle really. And we're going to make some changes depending on which stars we're using. As you can see, something's wrong with your color. What can you guess? Just because the UV attribute does not exist at this level, but down here it does. Kind of cool. We'll make some changes as we get there, but I'm going to keep it plugged into age for now. For these ones, we're also going to create an attribute randomize. And we're going to make P scale. I'm going to make my smallest that and my biggest 5. Now I'm going to save it this before anything else happens. And I'm going to go color, not color, copy to points, sphere, I may have to undo the resample because there might be too many points and that might be slowing down my simulation. But this should work, so we'll just let it play out and see what happens. So anyway, I made a few changes. I went through and my phone crashed multiple times while making this, joys of being a VFX artist, but I created some more points for my pop net. So these stars that you see, which are all flared out, I added a point jitter onto them. I time blended everything, and then I copied a point some geometry. So we can create a new geometry light, which I then have relabeled base lighting. What I'm going to do now is change the color of them from this peachy tone to a more vibrant kind of yellow, yellowy green kind of thing, like we saw in the photograph. I'm also going to render the light geometry as well. So I'm going to save. And then for my material palette, for the billowy smoke, I've made a few settings to the map to temperature emission and also the density. And we're going to see in a few seconds what it looks like. So I am going to re-render this out. And we'll render. So as you can see, our geometry lights is appearing very, very well. In this case, because we chose to render the light geometry, it's picking up the constant material, which of course default is white. So what we're going to have to do, for this anyways, is that we're going to have to create a new constant material for these stars in particular. Let's cancel our render, go over to our materials, scroll down, add another constant, and I'll name this ambient. I'll go maybe a bright orangey tone, diffuse. We can go over here. Do that. J. Accept, and now re-render. So as you can see, that's the new texture for our galaxy. I quite like the stars actually. In this particular case, I do not like our volumized. I do not like our actual dusting cloud debris. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit that next. But first, before anything, I might go into billowy smoke, modify it a little bit. It's a lot more duskier. And have something, that's a little bit more in contrast with our beautiful, beautiful stars there. In this particular case, I might make them a little bit brighter. And we'll go in and now edit our actual beautiful little galaxy. But in the meantime, we were going to adjust our color of our galaxy. So we're going to go back up to our color so you can see it a little bit more clearly. And we now know that if we go back over to our render view, we want to get rid of that kind of, probably more of the midnight blue than anything else, or the sky blue. Pull that up. Maybe make that pitch black. Go to white. Save. I was concerned about the voxel size, so I think I'm going to crank that up to 4.4 just to see what happens. Which create a lot more thicker voxels. I wonder what velocity blur would do. Maybe keep that on. I'm going to add my volume up. Save. VDB, activate, VDB, activate. I'm gonna expand my voxels. I'm gonna go in here, add some curl noise. And now for all intents and purposes, I'm gonna plug this in, go here. Works so far, which is great. Let's go to 3. Curl noise it up. Makes it a bit more thicker. Maybe add some more turbulence in there. Cool. Wet, dark clouds. I like where this is going. I might also create another curl noise. And put it on the position. Add. And I'm going to save that. And now let's re-render, just for fun to see what happens. Ooh, got some very dark colors going on. So now we know that this blackness is picking up our colors correctly. I think it's a bit too black, so let's just delete it. And I might fool around with my material. Interesting. we've got some nice scattering patterns, but I think, yes, we should keep the light geometry turned on, but I do think we need to scale it down. I might go into our beautiful little galaxy here and remove the stars at the center. I'm thinking that might be a better idea, as I don't like how they're crowding in the center. I'm just going to turn off my geolights for now so they don't get in the way of me getting rid of these stars. Color copy. That's good. And now I'm going to delete it by its color. What I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to try something else. I'm going to do an attribute randomize, and as we know, the default is color. I'm just going to turn up the P scale for now so I can see what I'm doing. Awesome. So as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm deleting my selected points that I would like to keep and not keep. So as you insert the values, the more points are going to be taken away, and the more they're going to stay. So then in that particular case, I would like that, I think, to stay for the middle. And then I'm just going to add a color to turn the color back to white, which is good. But I still want my color, my stars on the outer side. So I'm going to create another blast node and get rid of the remaining, get rid of some different stars and then merge them back together. And once again, copy. So now I've created another blast node, and I am going to decide what I'm going to keep and what I'm going to get rid of. Actually, I might just get rid of these and re-add these points here. That looks good enough for me. So now, if we go back down here to our nebula out, we should have some nice geolighting and stars that are not too big, but just enough that we have enough for our scene. Now for the centerpiece, which is our big light at the center of our galaxy, and also to poof up our clouds a lot. I think I might add some cloud noise and see what happens. We poof that up, and now we'll re-render it. I think I'm going to, as this is rendering, make one little change. Is that our lightest color here, I'm just not too happy with, so I'm going to delete it. Stop the render. I think I'm going to do a little bit more green tones. I like how that's forming right now. Maybe go down the intensity just a little bit so we can see what our galaxy would look like with just like the green kind of badass center. That actually looks kind of cool. I like it. So yeah, that's how you make a galaxy in Houdini. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Overall, I like how our clouds have evolved into this wonderful galaxy that we've created, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye!